So it seems that the last two boarding patrols are revealed to us. Let's talk about the new discount deals for Leaguers of Votann and Agents of the Imperium. Hello and welcome back to Warspets Tactics, where today we're talking about the last two boarding patrols, Games Workshop's temporary discount deals for the Arcs of Omen, usually fairly decent discounts on the models contained within, and they've been trickling them out over the last few weeks for the various factions of 40k. They have confirmed that these two are indeed going to be the last ones, and it does look like some factions will be missing out, but good to see that the Votann managed to get one over the line, and the Agents of the Imperium one is a bit of a curveball. So in today's announcement, basically we've got two more of the box sets, the one for the Leagues of Votann and the one for the Agents of the Imperium, and that basically means that there isn't going to be a boarding patrol for the Astra Militarum or the World Eaters if these ones are indeed the last. I guess it's maybe not the most unexpected thing in the world, given that the Astra Militarum and World Eaters both got their codexes really quite recently. Those ones were January and February releases. For the Guard, I guess it hasn't been all that long since they had their big launch box plus their combat patrol. And the World Eaters are maybe less surprising as their codex came out super recently and their combat patrol isn't even out yet, so maybe not surprising that they're not moving forward to a boarding patrol. Still though, a little bit sad for those two, as having an extra discount box set wouldn't have been the worst. I think a few people would have quite liked to see something like some Bulgrin for the Astra Militarum maybe, or maybe having a discount way to get some Kazakin would have been kinda nice. From the ways that these things have been coming out, we know the drill fairly well by now. They're usually going to be around about £65 to £85 or $110 to $140, and it will vary depending on how much stuff is in the box. I guess they'll be releasing sometime within the next 4 weeks or so. And as with the rest of them, these aren't going to be permanent additions to the Warhammer 40k range. It's going to be a case of when they sell out, they'll be completely gone, and you can't get any more. A few of the boarding patrols have sold out very fast for the popular ones. Some of the less popular ones have lingered on quite a bit though. I feel like, as ever with Games Workshop, a few of them have been kind of hit and miss. Let's get on to the actual contents of the box sets today though, and first up we have the Leagues of Votann one. This one, I must admit, I think is looking at least fairly good. The high-tech Space Dwarves have a force that's led by an Iron Here champion. They've got 10 Hearthkin warriors, 5 of the Chthonian berserks with the big plasma axes, and then 5 of the Iron Here Hearthguard, the sort of Votann Terminators with the power blades and Volkite blasters. The Leagues of Votann don't exactly have an enormous range at the moment, and basically these boarding patrols are all infantry, so they have all the squads that they could have, plus a character, which I think is okay. Value-wise, it looks like there's around about £135 or $220 within the box. That's certainly on the upper end of these boarding patrols, and I feel like it means it's more likely to be one of the most expensive boxes, level with ones like the Adeptus Mechanicus perhaps at around £85 or $140. Even if it is like those and is on the absolute upper end of the boarding patrol offerings, it will still be a reasonable enough discount at around about 38%. That's really not too bad as Games Workshop goes on their boarding patrol and combat patrol offers. Points wise, it does kind of well as well. There's around about 680 points in the box here. I feel like this might be the sort of box set that was designed with the original Codex points in mind, when Leagues of Votann cost significantly less before they bumped up all the points by a massive amount. As the actual boarding actions, boarding patrols generally cost 500 points, 680 is going to put you far above that. Still though, if you just want points to bulk out a general 40k collection, then this is going to do you quite well. I believe that adds up to, on average, the single most out of any of the other boarding patrols, kind of similar or more even to the Adeptus Custodes, and that's pretty impressive competing against even the Golden Boys for value of points in the box. Not all that often that happens. Model-wise for the Leagues of Votann, this is really quite a nice spread. It is just literally all of the standard infantry units, and I feel like all of them are basically usable in-game. That Iron Here champion really is quite fearsome when you give him that Exacta hammer, and he can hit out with a fair bunch of mortal wounds if you get a 6 or 2 to hit. There is a little bit of overlap with the combat patrol, I suppose. That one also nets you the berserks and the Hearthkin warriors, but I feel like both of those are units that you could definitely have more than one copy of. I feel like if you were to start Leagues of Votann, getting this plus the combat patrol wouldn't be the worst, then you just need to be thinking about adding extra vehicles if you wanted them. Overall, I feel like for Leagues of Votann, this box is going to be pretty well received. Really not a bad entry point to starting a Space Dwarf army, particularly combined with the combat patrol box sets. Let me know what you think about it though down in the comments. Otherwise, the second new offering that Games Workshop have come out with is this Agents of Imperium boarding patrol. This one's got an Eversaw Assassin, 2 blocks of 10 Navy Breachers, and one copy of the box of the Elucidian Star Striders Rogue Traders, with the Void's Men at Arms and the Rogue Trader plus retinue. I must admit this is one that I wasn't really expecting. I guess the boarding actions rules did go out of their way to make an Agents of the Imperium strike force viable, but still I wasn't necessarily expecting there to be an entire box set devoted to these guys. A lot of these just kind of feel like peripheral models that you might want to pick up one box of, rather than things to group together under one banner. In terms of cost of the models, it's around about £137 or $220, and again, that's very similar to the Leagues of Votann box set, so I'd guess that this will be one of the more expensive ones once again. Even so though, the discount is going to be the same or better than the Leagues of Votann box, so if you did want a whole bunch of these unaligned Imperium models, then the discount looks like it would probably be 38% or more. For points in the box, it doesn't do you quite as well as the Leagues of Votann, around about 430 points, given that both the Voidsmen at Arms and the Navy Breachers are kind of cheap points wise. I feel like the sheer amount of plastic that you get in the box though is relatively impressive, particularly as a lot of these are at least relatively recent models. The Star Striders from their Galapox Infected box a few years back, and the Navy Breachers being a recent Kill Team release within this whole Arcs of Omen Space Hulk terrain type offering. Overall, I think it's an interesting box set, and that some people definitely will pick it up. I feel like the mix of units though is just a little bit odd, particularly as we don't know exactly how these sort of forces are going to be able to be fielded in 10th edition. In terms of current game rules for Warhammer 40k, currently sadly the Navy Breachers and the Rogue Trader squad are very weak in terms of rules for the points. You'd almost always be better with something within your own codex rather than going for squads of those in support. Though I guess the Voidsmen at Arms could be interesting enough for a small objective grabbing squad if it made sense in a very elite army. The Eversaw Assassin's a pretty cool model, but again not super efficient in game, fairly good at blending hordes but won't do so much against anything tough. I kind of feel like the 20 Navy Breachers are perhaps more than most people would usually want for them as well. I guess you might like them if you want to theme a force around them, maybe use them as some veteran style guardsmen or something. But for the most part, I'd imagine that you'd usually want to add one squad as an interesting allied contingent within a larger force, maybe being a bit more of a curio rather than a squad that you want 2 copies of. Still though, I guess if you really like those models, this will in theory get you them at a discount. I'll be interested to hear your guys' takes on these. Do you reckon that this is a good deal or not? Overall though, I feel like both of these are pretty interesting. I'd say probably the Leagues of Votann one is the better box of the two for more general 40k. Really quite a lot of core units for the faction in an army that doesn't have all that many options to begin with. Will certainly be interesting to check back once we know their prices though. I'll definitely do a review of those at some point in the future. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where I'll certainly keep the regular 40k content coming. I do tend to post new things just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page as well, and you can find that links down in the video description below. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, the link is down in the video description. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.